Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the June 11th, 2024 Olive Branch Planning Commission meeting. Can I get a roll call? I'm sorry? We can't hear you. I'll figure it out. Thank you. Can I get a roll call?
Donnie Singh.
Here.
Dion Jones.
Here.
Steve Stratton. Pat Dorr. Janice Lewis.
Here.
Diane Singer.
Here.
Kimberly Remack.
Thank you. Did everybody have a chance to read the minutes? Are there any questions or comments? If not, can I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion
Second.
by Diane
Second.
and a second by Janice. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. No consent agenda, so we'll get into old business. The first one is an application for a final plat for Villages of South Branch, PH 1B, submitted by Henry Porter, WH Porter Consultants, PLLC, on behalf of Michelle Terhune, South Branch Development LLC property owner. The request is to create 47 single-family residential lots and 3 common open spaces from 26.456 plus or minus acres. The subject property is zoned R3, Planned Residential District, and is located on the east side of Pleasant Hill Road, north between Stonecrest Drive and Bram Drive.
Mr. Chairman, Planning Commissioners, before you is a request to consider the final plat. So there's a final plat for the Villages at South Branch, Phase 1B subdivision. As you did indicate, it consists of 47 lots. Phase 1A was already recorded. It consists of these 47 lots shown here in green. This particular area, that is a common open space. Phase 1B would be in this area designated here in yellow, kind of northeast of Phase 1A. It will essentially consist of 17 grand manor lots. Those are lots that are minimum 12,000 square feet to the west and to the north of the Phase 1B area, and the rest of the 30 lots will be cottage lots that are essentially minimum 8,750 square feet in size. These lot sizes are dictated by the project text that was approved by the Board of Aldermen. The plat layout, final plat, essentially aligns with the amended preliminary plat, which you recommended for approval, and the board actually approved that in September of last year. To approve a final plat, the board pays attention to the completion of subdivision infrastructure and any particular provisions that may be on the plat itself in terms of dedications to the city. As shown on this slide, new streets and street extensions have been made. Borden Creek Drive, for example, has been extended 611 feet northward, and Goom Pond Drive has also been extended 535 feet northward or southward, depending on what direction one is looking at. A new street is proposed for dedication to the city, Bunyan Drive, that will be 1,303 feet. These are all local streets by design. They have a 50 feet right-of-way. As you see on this slide, sidewalks have not yet been constructed in areas where lots are proposed. However, other utilities such as water lines have been laid, fire hydrants are in place, sewer lines, new sewer lines are also in place. This area where you have sidewalks already constructed, that is a common open space. It's essentially this area, this common open space. That is where you have the sidewalks around it. In other areas where you have proposed lots themselves, sidewalks have not been constructed. The customary practice in the city is for those sidewalks to be bonded or a letter of credit provided to the city for them, and the house builder constructs the sidewalks as the houses are built. Otherwise, they will all be ripped off to construct the driveway and so on. Electrical and gas utilities have also not been installed. Back-T tests have not yet been performed for the water infrastructure. All of that will need to be resolved with the city engineer. The developer will also have to provide an as-built showing precise location for all this infrastructure that have been laid in the ground, especially those that are being dedicated to the city. Once that is done, the applicant can proceed with the recordation of the plat if approved by the Board of Aldermen. This is the plat as designed. It aligns with the preliminary plat. It does not violate any of the zoning regulations. One important thing is worth pointing out. When the final plat for phase 1A was approved, the final plat for phase 1A, which created these 47 lots designated here in green, when that was approved, initially in the preliminary development plan for this entire PD, the common open space was to be in this area. But that was turned into a stormwater detention basin. And as such, it was moved. The common open space that was going to contain a swimming pool for this phase 1 of the development was moved from here to common open space E504. The Board of Aldermen, in the approval of the plat, at the time the plat for phase 1A was recorded, that swimming pool amenity for the subdivision and the pickleball courts, all of that had not been constructed. And so condition number 5 of the approval of the plat stipulated that the developer must construct the swimming pool in common open space E504 before the 47th house in the subdivision may pass final inspection. Nor can the final plat for phase 1B, which you are considering today, be recorded until such time that said improvements are completed. If that condition is not amended, what that will basically mean is, even if the Board of Aldermen approves the final plat, that plat cannot be recorded, lots will not be sold, the project cannot, that particular area, the final plat will not be recorded until the swimming pool in this area is constructed. The applicant has reached out indicating that it has been designed, the construction of that area, all the amenities, you have the swimming pool. This is basically what it will look like when it's all done. The site has been graded. The pickleball court has all been designed. The infrastructure plans or the construction plans are available. Construction, however, has been delayed because of engineering issues to avoid a number of leaks. It's going to be almost a resort-style pool, so to speak, as designed. And as such, the applicant is asking to be allowed to continue constructing houses while getting this done. The request was to permit to extend this for 6 months. But that 6 months can be arbitrary. Usually we tie amenities provision to number of houses or number of lots in the subdivision. You always want to make sure that there is an existing HOA already in place that can begin to take care of those amenities. On account of that, staff is recommending approval of these subdivision with the addition of condition number 6, which you do not have in your report. That condition being that the final plat for the villages at South Branch subdivision phase 1B may be recorded before completion of the swimming pool and pickleball court amenities in common open space E504. However, these amenities must be completed by the developer before the 60th house in the subdivision may pass final inspection. That basically extends it from the 47th to the 60th, which will be within this phase B. So with this approval, if approved, if you so recommend and the Board of Aldermen approves, the developer will be able to proceed with the recordation of the final plat for phase B, phase 1B, and also phase 1C. And then he will have to have the swimming pool and the pickleball court constructed before the 60th house in the subdivision passes final plat, final inspection, building inspection. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Is anyone here to represent the application? Just make sure you state your name and address.
Paul Fraser, PFMT Holdings, 5055 Pleasant View.
Henry Porter, W.H. Porter, 6055 Primacy Parkway, Memphis, Tennessee, 38119. We're here to answer any questions that y'all might have, but we're excited to get this thing going.
Any questions for the applicant?
You guys good with the 60th house, the sixth provision that was added?
We agree with that.
Thank you. Any more questions? No more questions? Thank you. Is there anyone here in favor of this application? Anyone here to speak opposed to the application? No. Close the discussion. Any discussion for the commission?
Make a motion to approve based on staff's recommendations 1 through 6.
Motion to approve by Donnie Singh. I have a second.
Second.
Second by Janice Lewis. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Application passes. On to number 2, application for final plat for Villages at South Branch PH1C, submitted by Henry Porter, W.H. Porter Consultants, PLLC, on behalf of Michelle Terhune, South Branch Development LLC property owner. The request is to create 5 single-family residential lots from 1.094 plus or minus acres. The subject property is zoned R3, Planned Residential District, and is located on the east side of Pleasant Hill Road, north between Stonecrest Drive and Bram Drive. Presentation by staff.
Mr. Chairman, Planning Commissioners, this is the final consideration for the final plat for Phase 1C. He just recommended approval of Phase 1B of this same subdivision shown here in this area in yellow. Phase 1C consists of these 5 lots to the south shown here in red. The right-of-way was already dedicated in Phase 1A, so that's already a public street. No new public transportation infrastructure is involved in this particular phase of the subdivision. All the lots that are proposed will be cottage lots, or the 5 lots are essentially cottage lots, minimum 8,750 square feet, as was shown on the preliminary plat. Subdivision infrastructure have been put in place. As I did indicate, this is the area where you have the swimming pool and the pickleball court. This is where you have the 4 lots to the north of that road, and then this will be basically lot 95 to 98, and this will be lot 99 at the southwest corner of this intersection. Sidewalks, as you will see, have not yet been constructed. They will need to be bonded. Electrical and gas lines have not yet been installed. Any outstanding infrastructure will need to be, the developer will need to provide an irrevocable letter of credit to the city engineer of such amount to be determined by the city engineer before recordation of the final plat. Staff recommends approval subject to these standard conditions 1 to 4. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Anyone here to represent the application?
Henry Porter, W.H. Porter, 6055 Primacy Parkway. I'm here to answer any questions y'all might have.
Thank you. Any questions? No questions, thank you. Open up public discussion. Is anyone here to speak in favor of this application? Is anyone here to speak in opposition to this application? Public discussion is closed. Any comments, questions? Can I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve based on the following improvements, 1 through 4.
Motion by Diane Singer. So can I have a second? Second. Second from Steve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Application passes. Motion passes. Thank you. Old business number 3, application for zoning map amendment submitted by Darrell Brown on behalf of Streets of Hope property owner. The request is to rezone .30 plus or minus acres property from M2 Heavy Industrial District to C2 Highway Commercial District to establish a medical cannabis dispensary at this location. This property is located on the east side of Highway 178, approximately 0.2 miles south of Newcraft Road, known as Lot 1 Fortune Industrial Subdivision, 7590, Highway 178. Presentation by staff.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To take us out where we are, starting down here at the Olive Branch City Hall, we could go up through Old 78. Approximately 2/10 of a mile before we reach Newcraft Road, we would run into the subject property on our east side. If we were to go up New 78 and exit off of Newcraft Road, we would go east on Newcraft Road, south on Old 78. Subject property be located on the east side of the road. This brings us in just a little bit closer here to where we are. As you can see, again, we came down Newcraft Road, took a right on Old 78, and again, subject property located on the left side. Some considerations within the C2 district is that the C2 district is not much different than the M2 district when we're looking as far as setback lines. The difference would be the commercialization of the area, and we'll talk about that as we work our way through the presentation. Again, as I bring your attention back to the previous presentation we made last month, a little bit about the background. Annexed in 1990. It's part of the Fortune Industrial Subdivision, currently vacant. It does have an unoccupied house. It was built approximately in 1960. Public utilities are available, and again, it's accessible from Highway 178. The subject property was platted in 2001 as part of the Fortune Industrial Subdivision. It encompasses 3 developable lots. This is the first lot. It's 0.3 acres. The 0.3 acres subject property, again, located on Newcraft Road, is currently zoned M2 heavy industrial. The property's in an area that's generally commercial, light industrial in character. It's evident in the aerial map that we're looking at. The subject property will be served with existing utilities and not require any extension of the new utilities or roadway improvements. The applicant, Darrell Brown, property owner, seeks the rezoning of the subject property from M2 heavy industrial to C2 highway commercial district. The applicant suggests that the rezoning will provide an incentive for building in the area, also the current building on the property to be repaired. According to the applicant's letter of intent, the applicant is seeking the rezoning of the property to allow the sales of medical marijuana. So some analysis as we looked at the property is this was noted. Mr. Chairman, I'll bring you back to our minutes from our last May 14th meeting. Get to pull it up here. Mr. Chairman, if you will remember, Planning Commission discussion, Dion Jones explained to the applicant that there was a need to make sure the rezoning criteria were met and that it was incumbent upon him to not just provide a list of businesses but state how the area has changed. Chairman Dorr suggested the applicant meet with planning staff to help him. I will say that the applicant has come in, met with planning staff. We've met with him all the way up until today. Met with me one time before this, in which we were able to go over the general characteristics of the area. We looked at the businesses. We talked about redevelopment within the area, and we also talked about repurposing old buildings. So that sort of brings us up to where we'll talk about the original zoning classification and also the character of the neighborhood. So the original zoning classification is a criteria that has to be met. Was the original zoning classification a mistake? So staff suggestion or applicant submission would be that the applicant makes no claim for the original zoning classification being a mistake. A little bit further into staff research, the original zoning classification was not a mistake. To apply would be that the property should have been zoned differently. The property was originally zoned for industrial development. It was annexed in 1990 by the city. This is considered appropriate because the existing industrial commercial developments along Highway 178 all the way to the state line, it can be concluded that no zoning mistake exists. And number two, the character of the neighborhood has changed to an extent to justify the proposed rezoning. As I made my way up and down 78 several times looking at the different businesses, the repurposing of the buildings, the redevelopment of Old 78, I began to think of a time whenever Sergio's Auto Repair was the bait shop, or the brown bag store was across the road, or that there was a small convenience store or a grocery store. Thought of the old businesses that used to surround Maywood. As I looked up and down Highway 78 in the car on site visits, I also went to Google, and these are off of Google. And if you look here at my pointer, there is an icon that come up on Google. There's another one here. And if you click back on Google and go back to, let's say, 2020 or 2019, you don't see these icons. And now as you zoom up and down Highway 78 and just use Google, you can start to see shopping icon. You can start to see a food icon. You can start to see a service repair icon. You start to see service industries popping up on Old 78 from Camp Creek to the state line. Again, anything from auto repair, tile sales, carpet sales, food. There's different types of vendors for truck repairs, light duty pickup repairs, pool supplies, painting supplies, various businesses, dog grooming. The extent of the area has changed in such that it's become more of a service industry road. It's more of a service-oriented road. And that would take us up to the land use. The land use has changed, and it's not predominantly industrial. It's predominantly service industry based. New gas stations going in, the Bluebird gas station on New Craft, the proposed gas station going in on Old 78. The area has changed into more of a commercial corridor, and if we look at our future land use map, that also coincides with what we're looking at here with the comprehensive plan, and that this area that Mr. Brown is looking at is actually considered within a commercial corridor area. So the commercialization of the area would be staff's finding that the land use character has changed for Old 78. The third and final one would be a public need exists for the rezoning. So we looked at this again. We spoke with the applicant, and the applicant has very good ideas for use for the property, being that it's to be zoned C2. Again, that lines up with what other uses are up and down 78, and it does fall within redevelopment of the site to offer job creation, tax revenue, and provide a variety of products. I think that fits perfectly with what we're looking at when we're looking at the Old 78 corridor, and staff's finding would be that the comprehensive plan stipulates that within commercial corridors, the purpose of the C2 zoning district is to provide for retail and service outlets serving not only nearby residential areas, but distant areas, as well as especially the needs of through highway traffic. And Highway 78 being a very heavily trafficked road, it does bring light to this rezoning because of the amount of traffic up and down Old 78. So development patterns in the area support C2 highway commercial zoning, and the comprehensive plan 2040 recognize these development patterns and the changed character of neighborhoods, designating this subject property as commercial corridor. So we will go on to our recommendation. Our recommendation is to approve the rezoning of the subject property, and finding that there was not a mistake. The character of the area has changed with the increased highway commercial land use where the property is located, and that the comprehensive plan designates the property as a commercial corridor. That concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Thank you for working with the applicant. Anyone to represent the application? Just make sure you state your name and your address, please.
Good evening again. Pastor Brown, 7550 Airways Boulevard, Unit 519, South Haven, Mississippi. I am here if you have any questions, but I don't have anything I wanted to say to you guys right now.
Okay. Any questions? I just would like to say thank you for resubmitting a compelling application.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll open up for public discussion. Anyone in favor of the application? Anyone wanting to speak in opposition to the application? Come on down, make sure you state your name and your address, please. One more. Yes, sir.
My name's Dave Samansky. I live at 7267 Wind Drive, Olive Branch. I'm not opposed to medical marijuana. I've seen a lot of veterans that need it. But I'm not sure if this is the right place for it. Is this the first medical marijuana establishment in Olive Branch? No. No? No. Okay. But this is on 78 coming down from Memphis. So, I mean, to me, it's not as controllable as some other place in Olive Branch. It's 78, you go there, just people come and go real quick. I'm just not sure that's the right place for it. So, again, I believe in medical marijuana, but not that location.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak in opposition of the application? I'll close the public discussion. Any questions, comments, suggestions, debate?
Do you want to give the applicant time to respond to anything you're saying?
Applicant, do you wish to respond to?
Yes, again, my name is Pastor Darrell Brown. I am totally in disagreement with what the gentleman said. The purpose of this is medical marijuana. This is not the black market. This is not something that we are looking to deal with the streets. He referenced Memphis, and I understand the situation with Memphis. Memphis can't come over to Mississippi to buy anything unless they have a medical approved card to be able to buy out of that dispensary. And therefore, I am really opposed to the streets as far as the black market is concerned. I am a pastor. I am looking at this for the medicinal purposes only and nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Comments, questions, suggestions? All right, can I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve this.
Motion to approve by Janice. Have a second?
Second.
Second from Steve Stratton. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Application passes. On to new business. Application for the third revision to Olive Branch Industrial Park Subdivision Lot 10A submitted by Taylor Webb, Rockfield Engineering on behalf of N6I, Ridgeway LLC property owner. The request is to increase the size of Lot 10A from 18.85 plus or minus acres to 20.13 plus or minus acres by absorbing an unplatted parcel of 1.75 plus or minus acres. The subject property is zone M1 Light Industrial, is located at the west end of Ridgeway Industrial Drive and directly south of the south end of Weaver Road, known as 10665 Ridgeway Industrial Drive. Presentation by staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll start with where we are here. The easiest way to find where we are is we'll go east on 302 up to Hacks Cross. We'll take a north on Hacks Cross up to, we'll pass Woods Boulevard and our chain restaurants here. Take a left on Industrial Drive. If you've been down to the Mid-South Ice House where skating rink is at, they have amateur hockey and kids skating. Adults can skate there, I assume. But that takes us to the end of Ridgeway Industrial Drive, where the subject properties are located at. This is the same slide from our December meeting where we spoke about this. Where we're going to be, the addition's going to be down here at the bottom. So the purpose of this consolidation is to obtain permits to build a trailer drop yard. On top of that, later on they want to build a building where the yard's going to be at. That building would cross over this property line, and so for the ease of use, the applicant wishes to just combine his two properties, and that way that the plat meets all subdivision regulations and zoning ordinance requirements. So speaking with the city engineer, there is a bond that will be needed to be put up for this. That is attached. The engineering memo is attached as an exhibit. We have a cul-de-sac at the end of the road. We also have a sewer line that will need to be abandoned. So the city engineer wants to make sure those two items are covered as we speak about this. Staff recommends approval subject to various conditions. Again, just a little bit closer look about Ridgeway Industrial here. As you'll notice where the pointer's at, this is where the cul-de-sac will need to be put in. And then the 8-inch sewer line runs across this property line to approximately this area here, I believe right where the pointer's at. It's still, that is where the manhole is at from our satellite imagery, and that would be the line that the engineer is recommending has to be, requiring that this line will need to be removed and a bond placed on that. So what would that look like? It looks more like this. Now you can see your 1.75 acres. You can see your 18.85 acres. And so we're going to combine those. The subject property is Lot 10 of Olive Branch Industrial Park, Section G, second revision. It was approved by the Board of Aldermen and recorded May 18, 2016. The subdivision platted 10A in Tract 2 of N6 Ridgeway LLC property, 1.75 acre lot that was planned for the right-of-way extension of Ridgeway Industrial Drive. So speaking with the engineer, I don't know, let's see if we could zoom out again. Okay, so we've got mini storage on this side of Ridgeway Industrial. The city engineer does conclude that this road will not go through, and that is another reason that the city engineer is allowing this to go through with the few memo points, but this was supposed to be a future extension. We can see it a little closer here, but the mini storage is what cuts that extension off, allowing them to go ahead and use this property. The current request again is to combine the two parcels into a 20.13 acre lot. This is, so you have some idea, this would be a rendering of phase 1. This is their site plan. You can see the cul-de-sac there. That's part of what the bond needs to be put up for. You see the removal of the sewer line that was here. And you also start to see the extension of the parking. Now, the parking is going to be overlaid with a building. They have some time frame with Board of Adjustment close to 3 years that this will sunset and their building has to go up. But I thought for educational purposes it would be good to show you where we're headed here. So making this revision is intended to eliminate a situation in which a new warehouse would be proposed being built over existing lot lines. That's not permissible. Platted lots can be bought and sold by individual owners. So taking it just a step further for you just to see where N6I Ridgeway is headed here. This is their parking until they get their building built. But again, I thought it was just important to add to the rezoning, that you understand a little bit what they were asking for. Any new building is still subject to the same setbacks in the M1 light industrial zoning district. It also limits the area lot can be covered, the impervious surface ratio, to 75%, which they have a plan here with their green space, with their detention pond, and this other green space on the other side. So they have a plan to meet that 75%. Future development will require them to add landscaping. We would talk more about that as we move along with further building here. So looking at a little bit of analysis here, just want to bring your attention again to that bond. A financial guarantee for completion of public infrastructure is applicable before the recordation of the plat, and the engineering memo is attached as an exhibit. So where do we go from here? Upon recommendation by the Planning Commission, the final plat would be forwarded to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for consideration. When approved by the board, the plat would need to be recorded. So I just want to bring our attention right back here. A letter of credit is required. That's one of our staff recommendations for approval, and the city engineer shall determine the full amount of this letter of credit, which shall include a probable cost estimate of 25%. And that is for a contingency. That concludes staff's presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for staff? Anyone represent this application?
Morgan Falls with Rockfield Engineering, 6167 Kerbo Lane, Olive Branch, Mississippi. And I'm happy to answer any questions, but I think it covered it.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And as long as we approve this application, subject to those conditions 1 through 5.
Motion based on conditions 1 through 5.
I'll second that.
Second by Dodson. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, number 2, new business, application for zoning map amendment submitted by Chance Walker and Ben Smith, IPD LLC, on behalf of Kelly Greenwood, AK-47 LLC property owner. The request is to rezone lots 1 and 2 of Greenwood Place Commercial Subdivision to C2 Highway Commercial District. The 2.71 plus or minus acres lot 1 is currently zoned C1, Neighborhood Commercial District. And the 6 plus or minus acre lot 2 is currently zoned M1, Light Industrial District. The lots are intended to be used for climate controlled storage of RV and boats parking. This property is located on the east side of Highway 305, just south of Church Road, and is 4900 Highway 305. Presentation.
Thank you. Here we have an aerial view of the subject property. We have Church Road east to the north here and Highway 305 to the west of the subject property as well. This is essentially, if you remember from last month, this is essentially the same application that came before you, but instead of rezoning the property to M1, the application has gone a route that is more appropriate to instead rezone the front parcel and the rear parcel that you see here to C2 Neighborhood Commercial. And I just wanted to restate, this is we saw this subject property last month. A little bit of background on the subject property. When the easterly lot 2 is rezoned from AR, which is agriculture residential, to M1, light industrial, back in 2022, lot 2 is this lot right here, the M1 zone district that you see here. The Board of Aldermen was expressing reservations about rezoning any of the lots in the red that you see here to any industrial district along Highway 305. This was basically related to any concerns regarding any potential uses that might not align with the character from Bell Forest Drive to Church Road, Bell Forest Drive being right here. And the current application addresses this concern that the board had. The M1 zoning of Lot 2 was intended to create a transitional zone between the C1 neighborhood commercial district to the west here and the M2 heavy industrial district to the east here. This transitional zoning was meant to allow commercial uses along 305 that would screen any industrial uses to the east. The purpose for this application is to rezone the property, the subject property, from both C1 and M1 to C2 highway commercial. And the purpose behind this is the applicant wishes to develop space box storage. This facility would feature a one-story, roughly around 60,000 square foot climate-controlled indoor storage building, as well as outdoor storage and outdoor storage for RVs and boats. In the C2 zoning district, this is a conditional use. The mini storage portion would be need a conditional use permit. There is a separate application for that conditional use permit that will be heard by the Board of Zoning Adjustment this Thursday. This essentially locks down the use of the subject property, which is something we were concerned about on the previous application. When we were rezoning to M1, it could be any of the permitted or conditional uses within the M1 zoning district. If the Board of Zoning Adjustment approves the conditional use permit application on Thursday, then it would lock down that use for however long the conditional use permit is. So that's an improvement from the previous application. However, it is important to note that it still would be a rezoning for this current application before you and the Board of Aldermen for the C2 district, and so any permitted or conditional uses for the C2 district would be allowed here. Some permitted uses would include hotels, motor vehicle sales, and department stores, and some conditional uses would be things such as churches, motor vehicle repair services, and contractor storage yards, excuse me. Here we have some of the rezoning criteria for looking at our rezoning here today. The first one being the original zoning classification of the property was a mistake. The applicant does not claim that a zoning of the subject property was a mistake, and staff would agree with this. Like I stated earlier, the subject property, which was this entire area that you see here, this application only deals with Lot 1 right here and Lot 2 right here, but just for the purpose of this criteria demonstration, I wanted to show everyone the entire subdivision. This entire property was zoned AR agricultural residential until 2022, when the Board of Aldermen rezoned lots 1 through 3, which are these two lots where my cursor is, they were rezoned to C1 neighborhood commercial, and Lot 2 further away from Highway 305, and the residential subdivision over to the west was rezoned to M1 light industrial. At the time of this rezoning, the property owner planned to establish a different outdoor storage facility on Lot 2 known as a safe place storage. The applicant, staff would agree with this in that many of the commercial uses, let me look at my notes. I apologize about that. And basically, staff would agree with the first criteria in that the rezoning of the property, there wasn't a mistake asserted there. The second criteria is that the character of the neighborhood has changed to justify the rezoning. And one of the main findings that staff saw in this was a lot of the uses along Highway 305 had become, a majority of the area had become commercial. Various businesses such as CVS Pharmacy towards the north here, as well as the BPC store with fuel pumps and Sweet Peas Restaurant, have all been constructed between 2007 and 2017. Additionally, the Cascades and Trinity Park PUDs to the north past where the picture goes all have commercial areas within their development plans, and within Trinity Park right now, as you see where my cursor is, there is a commercial strip mall that is currently under construction. Highway 305 from Highway 78 to the north to the subject lots is predominantly a commercial corridor, and therefore the proposed rezoning to C2 would align with the increasing commercial character of the surrounding area. The third criteria is a public need exists for the rezoning. The applicant states that the Olive Branch market is experiencing a housing boom, and creating a demand for local storage is necessary. They state that over 3,800 commercial and single-family lots have been developed or are developing within a 2-mile radius, and the storage facility would provide a convenient solution for these residents and businesses. Staff looked at the future land use map of the 2040 comprehensive plan. This map outlines the city's public need policies, and the future land use map designated the parcels as neighborhood commercial, which is this pink area that you see here, which also matches the commercial areas. So this is the CVS right here, the BPC store right here, as well as the Trinity Park commercial area that we see here. And neighborhood commercial designated areas emphasize small-scale, multi-tenant retail and offices close to residential areas, and residential areas that you see here are in yellow. And they prioritize human-scale architecture, pedestrian access, with buffering provisions for both light, noise, and odors being crucial aspects to this designation. The commercial uses that would be permitted in the rezoning to the C2 district would align closely with the uses that are intended to be in neighborhood commercial designated areas of the comp plan, and this supports the public need argument. Thus, the recommendation on this is based on the findings that there is no zoning classification error, that the character of the area has changed to justify the commercial zoning, and the future land use map designates the area as neighborhood commercial. Staff would recommend approving the request to rezone lots 1 through 2 of the Greenwood Place subdivision from C1 neighborhood commercial and M1 light industrial to C2 highway commercial. And essentially what this does, I didn't show it on here, but essentially this creates the entire Greenwood Place subdivision as a commercial subdivision. That concludes my staff presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Anyone to represent the application?
Chance Walker, IPD Engineering, 8180 Airways Boulevard, South Haven. I'm here to answer any questions if there are any.
Open public discussion. Is anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Is anyone here to speak in opposition of the application? So, public discussion. Any discussion, comments, suggestions? Ask for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this application of rezoning.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second from Diane. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Number 3 on new business, application for a project text amendment for the Windstone Plan Unit Development submitted by Robert Barber, Orion Planning Design on behalf of property owner Robert Baylor. The request is to allow additional permitted uses in areas 6 and 8. The subject property is located on the north side of Highway 302 between Windstone Boulevard and Pleasant Hill Road.
Thank you. Here we have an aerial view of the subject property. This is Pleasant Hill Road to the east and Highway 302 to the south. You'll see here in a second, but this is area 6 of the Windstone PUD, Planned Unit Development, and this here in yellow is area 8. This is, Windstone Boulevard is sandwiched in between these two areas, and these are our subject properties for this PD, or project text amendment. A little bit of background on the subject property. Like I stated before I get into that, this is area 6, area 8, and I'll get into what this purple area is here in a second. The Windstone Plan Unit Development was approved by the Board of Aldermen in 1997, and since then there have been numerous project text revisions, the most recent one being in 2017. The subject properties that you see here, like I stated, are area 6 and 8. These are located off of Goodman Road. Both of these areas contain some unplatted and vacant land. However, lots 1 through 9 of the Windstone Office Park East subdivision and 2 common open spaces are a part of, 2 common open spaces of the Windstone subdivision. These areas have been platted. So I don't know if you can kind of see it, but these 2 retention ponds that you see here, these are those 2 common open spaces. Right here we have, you can see the area that I'm boxing in with my cursor. This is lots 1 through 9 of the Windstone Office Park East subdivision. So this purple area that you see here is an area, again, I'll get into that in a second, but this is unplatted vacant property at the moment. Any unplatted parcels within these area 6 and 8 of the Windstone PUD would need to be platted and recorded before a building permit could be issued on these in these areas for any associated construction. Now, regarding this purple area that you see here, there is an associated final plat application that has been filed to unplat this area. It's around an acre and 0.6. It's a 1.06 acre parcel within the area 8 of the Windstone PUD, and this would be named Lot 10 of the Windstone Office Park East subdivision. But that is in a separate application that is following this one. Here, and I know this is a lot to look at first, but it's really quite simple. This is a comparison chart of what the original project text says versus what is being amended here. In 2017, there was a project text amendment, or when the Windstone PUD, was revised in 2017, this was what was in the most recent project text is what you see here. And this included, for both areas 6 and 8, they only had permitted uses, and they were the same. And this included banks, barbershops, and other small-scale office uses. What the proposed amendment is doing is separating areas 6 and 8 to have their own lists of uses, right? So you see here, the amendments are for the public. The amendments here are in the light blue. So in office area 6, like I said, they're being split into 2 separate areas of permitted and conditional uses. In area 6, which is this area right here, the permitted uses would remain the same as it is currently, while adding 2 conditional uses. Conditional uses have to go before the Board of Zoning Adjustment for approval, and they're only allowed for an extended period of time before they are needed to come back to the Board of Zoning Adjustment for approval. And these include restaurants with or without drive-throughs, as well as churches. And for area 8, the amendment adds 2 new permitted uses, which are premium cigar stores and premium cigar lounges, with certain conditions for those. And additionally, area 8 introduces 3 conditional uses, which include restaurants with or without drive-throughs, churches, and liquor stores. I will discuss the cigar shop use in a moment, but essentially what you are approving tonight is the text in blue here. That's what you're approving tonight. At this time, no restaurants or churches are being proposed in either area 6 or area 8, but if the project text tonight is approved and then approved by the Board of Aldermen, the applicant, Mr. John Higgins of Spring Street Cigars, plans to develop a multi-purpose building on the unplatted vacant parcel that is going before you for the next agenda item within Area 8. And this would include a Spring Street Cigars lounge and bar, an outdoor patio, potentially a liquor store, and potentially a drive-through coffee shop. The main focus, though, is the cigar shop and lounge. Like I stated, there is an associated final plat application that has been filed to plat the unplatted parcel. And we also have a presentation for you all by Mr. Higgins that was submitted for our review and within your staff report for the intent for Spring Street Cigars. As required by the amended project text, if approved, the liquor store use would need a conditional use permit approved by the Board of Zoning Adjustment. This permit, along with any other conditional use, would allow the use to operate for a specified period under certain conditions which must be upheld for the use to remain open. Although the proposed cigar lounge will be approximately 500 feet from the nearest residential dwelling, the applicant has proposed additional use conditions to mitigate any concerns regarding odors, such as designated smoking areas and air purification systems. So if we go back to the project text, premium cigar stores and lounges would be a permitted use. However, they would be permitted only with these conditions listed. So it would only be limited to the potential Lot 10, so they could not be within this area. They could not be within this area. It would only be on this purple parcel that you see here. Activities would be limited to the purchase and on-site consumption of premium cigars and pipe tobacco products only. Ancillary services may include the sale of beverages, pipes, and cigar accessories. All other non-premium cigar-related products are specifically excluded from this use as a permitted activity. So that includes vapes, that includes hookahs, anything of that nature would not be included within either Area 6 or Area 8 as a whole, but specifically within or on Lot 10 within Area 8. On-site consumption of premium cigars or pipe tobacco with outside consumption restricted to confined areas such as patios. So no loitering would be happening with the premium cigars or pipe tobacco. They would be only allowed in designated areas on Lot 10. Additionally, air purification would be required utilizing an industrial air exchange system and air evacuation system. So I know the neighborhood and staff were concerned about smell from the cigar system. This basically eliminates that concern. The proposed amendments appear to be reasonable. Approving these amendments would not impact the vision or overall plan for the Windstone PUD. Currently, most of the office areas within Windstone are vacant, with Area 6 being completely vacant. So this area here has no development proposed or has occurred in the past. Excuse me. And Area 8 only has a multi-use office building that you on this property on one of the lots within Area 8. In recent years, the demand for office space has declined due to the pandemic and the increase of remote working. The proposed commercial and semi-public uses like the church would serve the surrounding residential areas and those along Goodman Road, which would contribute to the commercial businesses in Windstone to the east. These amendments would adapt the Windstone PUD to the changing market demands. Next step would be under the review of the and recommendation of the Planning Commission. This would be forwarded to the Board of Aldermen and asked to set a public hearing for, I believe, July 16th. That's a typo there. In order to review the proposed amendments and consider approval. And based on this, staff recommends approval of the application and recommend that the Planning Commission approve the proposed project text amendments. Again, you're not necessarily approving the Spring Street cigar use. You are approving what is in blue here on the right. But staff recommends approval of this for Area 6 and 8 of the Windstone Plan Unit development, and that concludes my staff presentation. We also have, before any discussion, I'm not sure which order we would like to go in, but Mr. Higgins, we have included his presentation for Spring Street Cigars, so is there an order which we would like to do that in? Sure. Okay.
I had a question.
Yeah.
Bradley, can you go back to one of those first slides that shows the property to the west as well? Right there. That's a Burger King right there with the drive-through, right?
Mhm.
The lot in the middle there, I think that's a dental office next to it?
Here?
Yeah, no, next to that one.
This one.
That's a drive-through, and then there's a dental office on the other side, correct?
That's Burger King.
Two lots to the
There,
left.
Yeah.
that-
There you
That's
go.
Windstone.
That's Aspen Dental,
Windstone Dental is next
or
to
Windstone,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Do those lots also fall under the current PUD as it is?
So that is a separate part of the PUD. This is Area 6 and Area 8 are part of the office areas within the PUD. This area is part of the commercial areas within.
Okay. And are drive-throughs and QSRs, do they require a conditional use permit in that portion, or are they permitted by right in that portion?
Off the top of my, if I remember correctly, they're conditional uses. I would have to
Okay.
double check with you on that, but I do believe they are conditional uses.
Okay, that's all.
Chase Dabbs, 3624 Madison Ridge. This is Mr. John Higgins.
John Higgins, 135 Executive Drive, South Tullow.
Song, do you have the clicker for the presentation, somebody?
Clicker, if you just want to tell me to go to the next slide, I
Just
can.
give you the-
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me tell you a little bit about Spring Street Cigars and premium cigars and what they are. Spring Street Cigars, we are the largest cigar company in Mississippi. We have the largest store in Mississippi in Tupelo. We're also the largest premium cigar company in the Southeast. Currently, we were founded in 2014, so this is our 10th year in business. Currently, we have 10 locations, Tupelo, Oxford, Boonville, South Haven, Starkville, Meridian, Kosciuszko, Jackson, Tennessee, Hattiesburg, and our warehouses in South Tullow, Mississippi. We currently have 3 more stores underway, Jackson, Mississippi, Corinth, and we hope Olive Branch as well. This is a map just showing you our layout of our facilities going all the way from Jackson, Tennessee, down to Hattiesburg. Company focus, what do we focus on as a company? Again, we're premium hand-rolled cigars only. We talked earlier about no cigarettes, no vape, no hookah. They're not even allowed in our stores. They interfere with the enjoyment of a premium hand-rolled cigar. We do sell pipes and pipe tobacco as well. Much of this is our own blends as well. We have both public and private smoking lounges, so the public is welcome to come in, but we also have private memberships and a private area within all our stores. We have a very professional environment, and again, typically the person that's going to come into our location understands that environment, understands it's a professional environment. It's very calm, very quiet environment. We do play music, but it's typically low jazz music. We do a lot of work on premium cigar educations, events, promotions, letting people understand what premium cigars are all about. Do a lot of work with state and local through chambers and through other activities, and we also give back a lot through charity organizations such as the Boy Scouts and Wives of Warriors, things of that nature. Okay. What's a premium hand-rolled cigar? It contains 3 parts. It's a filler, binder, and wrapper. There are between 3 and 9 different types of tobacco in this cigar. The main production regions are Nicaragua, Honduras, and Dominican Republic, and this is where we get all of our cigars from. The minimum age of any premium cigar is 5 years, but we have cigars up to 20 years and over. It's only natural tobacco. There's nothing added to this. It's 100% natural tobacco that's been cured and aged in these countries. It's 100% rolled by hand. There's no machine rolling in these. Okay? This is just, I'm going to give you an idea of what some of our stores look like. On the left will be a cigar lounge in one of our stores. On the right was what one of our humidors look like. This is where the cigars are stored at. They're stored at 70 degrees temperature and 70% humidity. Okay. Again, just more store layouts, shows you the retail areas, what some of our bar areas look like. We have our own in-house craftsmen that do all of our cabinetry work. Okay. Again, some of our stores are larger and will allow us to do other things. For instance, on the left on that picture, we actually have our own microbrewery in one of our stores, actually in Starkville. And again, some more of our pictures of our layouts of our stores. What some of our stores look like, this is just a few of them. This is downtown Tupelo, our original store, built in 1924. This is just off the square in Oxford. This is our Oxford location, standalone building in Oxford on Lamar Boulevard. This is South Haven. This is what our South Haven store looks like on Getwell. This is our Starkville location, downtown Starkville on Main Street. This is our Boonville location. Kosciuszko, Meridian, Jackson, Tennessee, Hattiesburg, and our warehouse in South Tillon. Again, this is obviously the plan that we've talked about earlier. Again, this is, again, just an idea of a little bit about our company and what we sell.
Couple things I'd like to add. First, for anyone who is going to come up here and say that you have a cigar store located very closely, he's intending on moving the one from South Haven to Olive Branch, so that one will no longer be located there. Also, you'll hear people come up here and say it's going to affect their quality of life, their value of their subdivision. If you take a look at the one over there on Getwell Road, I think we can all see that that's not true. It's a very outstanding establishment, and just like y'all to keep that under your minds. Thank you.
I had just one question. Why this site out of our entire city?
It's on Goodman Road, so it's great frontage. It's right here off of 302. Attract a lot of people. It's going to be seen by a lot of people. It's just a great location for commerce.
And then why the liquor store?
Sir?
Why the liquor store with it?
That's just an option that we are looking at. It's not something that's in a definite plan right now. The two things that we really want to focus on today are a cigar store and lounge, and potentially and the next step would be a coffee shop. So we're partnering with another company called Tupelo River, which has multiple locations, a very high-end coffee shop to do both a coffee lounge as well as a drive-through. But again, our focus would be on the cigar store and lounge. There's a potential, but certainly it's not a defined addition yet in terms of the liquor store.
So just to recap, the only thing that this site is offering you guys is Goodman Road frontage, and that's why you've chosen this one.
Again, good road frontage, great access. I mean, the access to this property is phenomenal. It's the best along Goodman Road. We've done a lot of research along Goodman Road in terms of the ability to get in and out of the store without disrupting traffic, and this is excellent.
Okay.
Do you have a particular, one of these 4 suites that you've got picked out for your store?
It would probably be the one on the two on the right-hand side.
Suite A, to the right-hand side?
Yes, sir.
B and C.
B and C, and there is, best I can tell, there is no outdoor smoking space?
Again, the potential is to put an outdoor patio, but right now, that's not in the plans. Once we get finished with the approval of getting the zoning changes, things of that nature, we will work diligently with an architect. Right now, there's no reason until we get the zoning change. Then we would work on the routes of the traffic for the drive-through, where we would put the exact patio, what the inside of the store would look like, things of that nature.
And I noticed there's, in the actual proposal, there's some methods to mitigate the smell inside the store. What about on the patio? What methods do you have?
That's open air. There's no way to control the smoke on the patio. Typically, your seating on the patio is going to be fairly small. If you look at something like our South Haven, we're going to have 20 seats on the patio. It's not going to be a large outside area.
Thank y'all.
I'm going to open it up for public discussion. Is there anyone to speak in favor of the application? In favor of the application? In favor of the application? Can you speak up? I'm sorry? Can you speak up? I can't hear everything.
Mr. Chairman, turn your mic on. I think you're making
There. Can you hear me now? I'm loud up here. I can hear myself, so I apologize. Before we begin taking comments in opposition to the application, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. If somebody has already stated your opposition, please don't come up and repeat the opposition, okay? I can tell by the numbers, we've got a lot of people who want to speak, so I'll also ask that you be respectful of everyone's time, whether they're in favor, in opposition, or they're neutral. Please no applause, no booing, nothing under your breath. Just be respectful and professional. So, is anyone here to speak in opposition of the application? I'm not going to pick, just one at a time. Make sure you state your name and your address.
Hello, Darlene Reagan, 4631 Stone Park Boulevard. I am about a 3-minute walk from where this is going to be located. Windstone is a very family-friendly area. There's a church right in front of it that has a school. There is no light at Windstone Boulevard and 302, so there will probably be a lot of through traffic going through our neighborhood. I say me, we are, I have 3 other people that sent me their stuff, but I forwarded it to Bradley. I am against the liquor sales, the liquor consumption, even if it's just beer. They're only moving the South Haven location less than 3 miles, I think, away. So from a already commercial area to basically a residential area in a very small move. So we don't, they said that there would be no loitering, but, you know, when you sell liquor, you sell tobacco, sometimes there is loitering. And we don't want the late night traffic in our neighborhood. We have a lot of kids, we have a lot of retired people, and we just don't want that element. Thank you.
I'm short. Debbie Hathorn, 4775 Stonebrook, South Park Boulevard. A lot of what she said I was going to say too. My husband and I moved to Olive Branch. When my son retired from the military, moved up here. We fell in love with Olive Branch. We selected Windstone subdivision. It gave us that Mayberry atmosphere. People walk down the sidewalk, we visit on the front porches, our kids play together. I take my great-grandchild down to these retention ponds to see the ducks and the geese, and she loves it. And we play all in that area. I'm very much against bringing alcohol into that area. You could say what you want to about one beer, but I've never seen anybody that could sit down and have one beer and then get up and drive off. You're subjecting all of us to the dangers. We have already filed complaints because of speeders that cut through our subdivision so they don't have to go up to the red light. So what is that going to do now? They've put the traffic monitors at the exit at Windstone that tells you you're going 30 miles an hour in a 20-mile-an-hour zone, but that doesn't stop it. So when somebody has alcohol in their system, what is that going to do? And you've got children that are walking from the pool during the summer going home. You've got, we're old, you know, somebody jumped the curb and hit one of my babies. It's going to be bad. So we highly object to it. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is George Hammond. I live at 4788 Stonecross Drive. This is right behind the development as far as what they're talking about. We're some of the old timers. We've been there since 2000, and the whole reason we bought in the area was because of the aesthetics and the character of the neighborhood. One of the questions I asked the developer before we even bought was, what was the intended use of this property out front? And it was said that it was going to be office buildings, which was very important. I didn't want to live around liquor stores, juke joints, or anything like that. And I know that the company that's representing for this building has got nothing but good stuff to say as far as the tobacco use and stuff like that. But this is not the only place to develop this building that they're talking about. We've got new development all up and down Goodman Road that's fixing to open up for companies like that. And I don't think that this business fits with the aesthetics of the neighborhood. And with changing the restrictions on the neighborhood, that's going to open up Pandora's box for the next business to come in to sell alcohol. Me being a Christian, I'm not for alcohol. I've had a close friend that was out mowing his yard that was ran over by someone that had 2 highballs, kept on going out mowing his grass, just left the bar, had no idea that he ever ran over this individual. Whether alcohol is served in an upscale facility or a low-scale facility, alcohol still has the same effects on everybody. And it's usually the innocent that get injured. I'm a retired firefighter out of Memphis. I was a fire rescue officer for 28 years. And seeing the effects of alcohol in accidents is not pretty. And one thing that I realized after 28 years of making these accidents is not one time did the people that were doing the drinking ever get injured or killed. It was always the innocent ones. And the people in our neighborhood are good people, got a lot of small kids, got a lot of elderly people that's walking the neighborhoods. And I'm just afraid as far as changing the use of what was intended for the neighborhood is not good for our neighborhood. It seems like from day one, our developer has always had 1 foot in and 1 foot out as far as completing what was intended for the neighborhood. And this is just another example of coming down and expressing this. As far as whether the tobacco store goes in or not, making those changes in the development will open the door for other restaurants serving alcohol. I do not think that this fits with the character of the neighborhood. We've got other areas.
Thank you. Thank you. 3 minutes.
The other areas that do that, and I'm totally against it.
Thank you.
So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Richard Todd. I live at 4799 Stone Park Boulevard. And most of what I was going to say has been said, and I appreciate that. But it is like a Mayberry subdivision. Y'all know it. And it's a great neighborhood. And the people, I just want to correct one thing. They drive more than 30 miles an hour. They go more like 50 through there when they cut through our neighborhood. But me and my wife, Leanne Todd, for 13 years, we have had the 2-year-old Sunday school class at Longview Heights, just right across the street. And we have the 2-year-olds, and we just don't feel like right there that close to a church and all, but the tobacco and the liquor is appropriate for that area. And we would really like y'all to not approve this. That's what I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on down.
My name's Dave Smansky, live at 7267 Wind Drive, Windstone. My wife and I lived in many places. We've moved about 8 times out of Olive Branch and always came back. This is our final place. Windstone is a fantastic place to live. We don't need this. Now, I've been to some cigar stores, sat there years ago puffing on those cigars. Comfortable places, quiet, but his presentation showed this long bar. It's kind of, I never saw in a cigar store where you bought expensive cigars a long bar where people come up and get drinks and stuff. And I never been in one that made their own beer. So this is more than just a cigar store. This is the beginning of a establishment where people can come up and start and drink and have their beer and leave, and not just sit there in a nice controlled cigar atmosphere and comfortable chairs like a lot of them have. This seems like a lot more in a bad beginning. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Beatrice Zimmerman. I live at 4766 North Terrastone. My husband and I moved in the subdivision about 7 years ago, and this is the second house that we've had in this subdivision. I agree with what everyone else has said on this subject. We do not need the drinking, the bar, the cigar bar there. If they already have a location in South Haven, why are they wanting to close that location to move where we are? Are they not making money at the location in South Haven, and that's why they're wanting to move? How can they control that the cigars will be smoked there on the premises and not taken? They say it's all controlled. How can they prove that? How can they do it? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak in opposition? Come on down.
My name is Ray Richardson. I'm at 4779 North Terrastone Drive. One thing I would offer that, you know, the presenters said that this was a great location, but if you move down Goodman Road, we're talking about the area where Huey's is being developed. We already got alcohol there. We've got restaurants with that. There's plenty of room down there. And if that's not a high traffic area there, we don't have any in Olive Branch. So I'm saying in front of our location is wrong. And I agree with everyone about the alcohol. I'm totally against that. It doesn't fit with the nature of the neighborhood. And we've got a church across the street. It just doesn't make any sense. So I just am against it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else speak in opposition? Would the applicant like to come down and respond?
All right, I tried to take notes on everything I heard so I could come up with a rebuttal for some of these. I do want to reiterate that this is changing it to a conditional use. So if we did decide to come back in the future, we're doing this solely right now for marketing of these other lots. If we did decide to come back in the future and make Area 6 a church or make Area 8 a restaurant, it would have to come back before this planning commission and board to be approved. It doesn't just give us free rein to go out there and start building. You got anything you need to add, John?
Yeah, even though there are bars and the cigar stores, 90+% of our sales are cigars. I'm sorry, even though we have bars inside our cigar stores, 90+% of our sales are going to be cigars, not beer or liquor or anything like that. We do have bars, but we do have leather chairs. We do have comfortable places to sit. So there is a element of the cigar store that allows a person to have a beer or have a drink if they would like, but the majority of our business is premium cigars.
Happy to answer any questions if y'all have any.
Any questions? No. Thank you. I'm going to close public discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from the commissioners? Any, I closed it. Yeah.
If I could clarify.
Yes.
The conditional uses that are listed here, like I stated before, the cigar store and lounge would not be considered a conditional use. Again, it would only be considered a permitted use on only that purple area that you see on the screen there. As far as churches and liquor stores, for both Area 6 and Area 8, as well as restaurants with or without drive-throughs. Those would not come before y'all as conditional uses. Those would come before the Board of Zoning Adjustment for approval and review by them. So just wanted to clarify that if it's listed as a conditional use, they don't come before you, they come before the Board of Adjustment.
Thank you. All right.
Mr. Chairman, there's one other item you may want to take into consideration, that this use of a cigar store would be permissible in Area 7 of the PUD outright without a conditional use permit. So if they weren't right at this entrance to Windstone, if they were in the commercial area that Mr. Singh had alluded to earlier, it would be a permitted use. It's already allowed in the PUD. The reason we have a PUD amendment tonight is because of the selection of the site they did in Area 8.
Thank you. Any comments, suggestions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Are we voting on new business number 3 as well as number 4 on this, since we had the presentation for the cigar?
Just number 3.
Just number 3. Thank you.
I'll ask for a motion.
I make a motion, and for clarity, this application is for a project text amendment for Windstone PUD, and I see no change in this area that would require us to approve this, so I'm denying this application. Thank you.
I'll second that.
I have a motion to deny and a second by Donnie Singh. All those in favor of, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion to deny passes. All right. New business number 4, application for final plat of Lot 10 of Windstone Office Park East subdivision submitted by Nicholas Croonan, Civil Link, on behalf of Robert M. Bailey, EBI Holdings, LLC, property owner. The request is to subdivide 1.06 plus or minus acres into one commercial lot. The subject property is currently vacant and zoned PUD, Plan Unit Development. This property is located on the northern side of Highway 302, just west of Pleasant Hill. Can I get a presentation from staff?
All right, thank you. Here again is the subject property. This is currently vacant land that you see here. This is the plat that was submitted to the Planning Commission for review. Like I said, this is a follow-up to the previous agenda item. The plat meets the bulk regulations found within the Windstone PUD text. The lot would have access from Highway 305 and Windstone Boulevard via Lot 9 of the Windstone Office Park subdivision and Lot 5A of the Windstone Commercial subdivision. Both of these are common open spaces. So to clarify, Lot 9 is the area between the lots that you see here. So Lot 9 is a common open space, so it includes this access drive that you see here. And Lot 5A is this common open space that you see me squaring in right here. So both of them have access from Windstone, or from common open spaces onto the site. In terms of zoning and lots, the proposed Lot 6 is located within the, Area 8, or the office portion of the Windstone PUD, and which has a dedicated project text that outlines the minimum lot requirements, those being 50-foot front yard setbacks, 10-foot side yard setbacks, and 15-foot rear yard setbacks. And the plat meets these minimum lot requirements. Like I stated earlier, the lot will be accessed from Windstone Boulevard to the east, from Highway 302 to the south, and the lot is bordered by Lot 9 of the Windstone Office Park East subdivision to the north, and Lot 5A of the Windstone Commercial subdivision to the east. So basically what I stated earlier. Lot 9, like I stated, is a blanket easement ingress egress easement for all access for the buildings within this portion of the Windstone PUD. The city engineer has also advised that this lot should not have direct access to be granted to it from Highway 302, so there would be no additional driveways being proposed onto the site. Utilities, water, and sewer are available to the proposed lots. The city engineers would require or request a minimum 20-foot wide utility easement be added to the southern portion of the property to accommodate an existing 8-foot public sewer line. In terms of bonds, variances, deviations, or waivers, the applicant does not seek any of these, and staff does not find any that are necessary or warranted. Thus, next steps would be, if the plat is recommended by Planning Commission, it would be forwarded to the Board of Aldermen for approval. Staff's recommendation is to approve final plat for Lot 10 of the Windstone Office Park East subdivision with the following conditions. The first two are a 20-foot utility easement be added, and that the deed to the property restricts the property as part of the Windstone East Property Owners Association. That concludes my staff presentation, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Is anyone here to speak in, to represent this application?
Happy to answer any questions y'all might have.
Any questions for the applicant? No.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone here to speak in favor of this applicant or this application? Anyone here to speak in opposition of this application? If you want to, if you want to speak in favor of this application or oppose to this application, you're more than welcome to come down. Let's go back to what the request is, please.
So the request tonight is just to plat the property and make it a lot of record. It's not approving the use or the project text amendment.
It's just to plat the area. There's no use going to be allowed on it.
This is not regarding the use or the project text amendment. This is just to make the, we're not answering questions at this time, I believe. I'm sorry. Yeah, so it's just to make it a lot of record within the city. This is what this request is.
Is anyone here to speak in opposition of this application? Okay.
George Hammond, 4780 Stone Cross Drive. Again, being an original resident of the neighborhood, as far as what the intended lots were already laid out, I think the developer should already go ahead and commit to what his purpose was for the property. This was never in the first phase as far as design of the front of the neighborhood or the businesses coming into the neighborhood. I think if we allow, as far as property, it just ruins the aesthetics as far as approaching the neighborhood. And then it also opens up other purposes, what the intentions are for that piece of property. I just think there's some underlying stuff that's not being, that we know about the purpose of that piece of property. He's got some vacant lots back there for the purpose of doing those office buildings. He needs to go ahead and commit to doing those office buildings and finish the development without opening leeway for other purposes. That's all I got.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak in opposition of this application?
Beatrice Zimmerman, 4766 North Terrastone. As I stated earlier, my husband and I moved in Windstone 7 years ago. He passed away a year ago, and instead of selling my home and moving somewhere else, I wanted to stay in Windstone because I felt like it was a safe area to be, especially for a widow. We have a lot of widows in that subdivision, plus a lot of new families coming in. If this is approved, it will be like they could come in there and build anything they want to on that land. The same man stood up and spoke that is wanting to come in there and do a cigar bar They never answered any questions as to why they're moving from South Haven. Is it because they're not making money? They're right there next to Snowden Grove, right there next to the silo. Why would we approve it so that someone could come in there later and do what they're wanting to do? I think it should be left just like it is, and it should not be approved so anybody can come in there and put something that is not desirable for that location. There are other, as other people have said, there are other locations, Goodman Road, on down, where they're building places. They can put, I don't care what they put, but we do not need anything open so someone can come in there and put bars or strip joints or anything else they want to put.
Thank you.
I have a question for staff.
Yes, sir.
If I understand this right, this lot that they're plotting will remain in Area 8, and the restricted uses currently for Area 8 are the 5 uses that you listed, which is banks, barber shops, doctors, offices, and public service.
Yes, sir.
Nothing about what we're doing changes anything about those restricted uses.
Yes, sir. Unless the Board of Aldermen were to amend the project text, only the existing uses can be constructed on that lot.
Okay. Thank you.
And the lot that they are proposing to create, subdivision process is essentially just a ministerial act. If you meet the zoning code, it meets the subdivision regulations, you have to approve it. It's a private property right, you have to approve it.
All right, anyone else to speak in opposition of the application?
Hello again, Darlene Reagan, 4631 Stone Park Boulevard. I agree with what my neighbors are saying. Obviously, there is a lot of overlap here. The yellow outline and the purple outline were exactly the same. And so I'm completely against number 3 and number 4. We don't want changes to our neighborhood that are going to be detrimental to the aesthetic or the safety of our residents.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak in opposition of this application? Would the applicant like to?
I don't have anything to add.
All right, thank you. Thank you. I'll close public discussion. Any comments, questions, or suggestions? I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the lot designation.
Motion to approve by Steve Stratton, second. I'll second it. All right, then I can't second it. But we can't deny it.
Jason might have to rule on that one.
If the planning commission may permit, if this may help. I understand that you have 2 applications that are kind of confusing. One dealing with the use and the other one dealing with just creating the lot. The use, you voted against it. So the applicant cannot go in there tomorrow and put a cigar bar or a liquor store, all of that. You voted against it. The Board of Aldermen does not approve it. That cannot happen. The second application before you has to do with a subdivision plat. Creating a lot, a subdivision lot, insofar as somebody owns private property, that person has a right to create it as a subdivision lot. Creating a subdivision lot does not mean any use will go on that property. Only the uses that are permitted in the Windstone project text can go on that property. No other use can be developed on that particular lot. So this is if the subdivision plat, for example, were denied, the city will have to justify how that subdivision plat violates zoning and violate the subdivision regulations. Without that, it will be an infringement on private property right, a significant legal issue. So, and what staff is stating is, reviewing this plat, there is no violation of the subdivision regulations, there is no violation of the zoning ordinance as it stands. Thank you.
We have a motion.
I had a question for the applicant, actually. If if this plat is approved, as we're talking about right now, obviously the uses got denied for the cigar shop and
No,
everything
we're not
like-
gonna do anything with it.
That was my, that was my question, is do you have any intent to build a bank, a barber shop, a doctor's office, or anything
not.
like that?
Nope.
No?
It was for item 3.
Is there any way that you would like to withdraw this application, if that's?
I was planning on leaving it just in case the board changes their mind on the decision that was made
I
tonight.
got you,
Yeah.
I
Yep.
got you, I got you, okay.
Thank y'all.
All right, we have a motion to approve the application. Do I have a second? Motion fails. Any further discussion?
I'll make a motion to deny the application based on the fact that the applicant has stated they have no intent of developing the property with the permitted uses as stated in the PUD.
A second.
We have a motion to deny,
Second.
and we have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Any other business? No other business? I make a motion to, I need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Janice,
I'll second that.
second by Donnie. We can't deny.